Welcome to ArcisFX Live.
Hello, everybody. Happy 2026. Thanks for joining us. New member, Paul, thanks for being here. Emily, obviously, great to have you here. I'm wearing headphones today because there is a lot of noise around my place. It's been a bit of a crazy day with lots of people coming to do repair jobs, so I can't hear myself think. So hopefully there's no noise. Right, so interesting things happening with the cryptocurrency market. If you have any questions for me today, want to look at any specific tokens, just let me know and we'll dive in. Just a little bit housekeeping to start with. On ArcisFX, we have a members. We have members of different tiers with different perks on YouTube, and there is the supporter tier, which we're very grateful for the hundreds of people who are supporting the channel on a monthly basis. But we also have a fan tier, which is more premium, and that is a little bit more than the supporter tier. But we've just lowered the price just very slightly. But because we can't edit the price of the existing fan tier, which gives you access to exclusive videos outside of the members only live streams, we can't just adjust the price. So what we've done is we've introduced a new fan tier, and the fan tier is just a little bit cheaper than the now what's labeled as now the old fan tier. And all of our members are either on the supporter or the old fan tier. So if you're on the fan tier and your membership is coming up for renewal, then simply you can cancel your existing one and then go over to the new fan tier to get that slightly cheaper price. So just a reminder about that. We've done that to make sure that we don't cut anybody off, and we make sure that you can leisurely go over to the new tier at your convenience. So if you are a member of the fan tier, then please, when you're next looking to renew, just please move over to the new one. And if you are a supporter, we're very grateful for all your supporters, and you fancy getting access to more additional content before maybe joining the private group eventually, for that added technical support for trading, then of course this is an opportunity to upgrade at a slightly cheaper price point than was available. So just a little bit of housekeeping there. So that's that new subscriber fan tier. Right, so let's just jump in with Bitcoin straight away and see what's been happening. So there's a few charts I'm in the process of doing. Okay, so let's have a look at this chart. Very straightforward. So firstly, we have, of course, the price action. Let's just move this to this. There we go. Let's try that. So firstly, we have the price action, which is now entered essentially our ideal retracement zone. And I've been talking about this all week in the private group and on Bitcoin Update. And we've essentially, following the break of 89K, which also was a break of the 3-day 200 MA and the 4-hour 200 MA, we've now come back to flushly retest it with some nice median line confluence on the RSI. And we're now in a good position for a long trade for Bitcoin, right? This isn't prediction. It's not saying that we're not going to continue down from here, but the chances of a reversal from this price point are quite significant given the level of confluence. So let's just work it out together. So we have the RSI firstly tapping the median line. We are retesting essentially it's quite deeply now the top of the previous trading range, which was between 89 and 90K, and now we're well into that range now, and this fair value gap just below. And we're just testing the 3-day 200 MA, the 4-hour 200 MA, and just above 89K. So we're exactly where we need to be for a reversal from here. Let's just see if we've got any divergence on this time frame, the daily. Right, let's have a quick look. No divergence just yet, but we can have a look at the multi-time frame chart to see what's happening across the board. I'll just switch to that if I can find it. Count how long it takes me to find the multi-time frame chart. Here it is. Okay, that was pretty quick. So the 30-minute, we have 3 divergences. The 1 hour, we have 3 divergences. No divergences yet on the 2 hour. So we don't have any divergences popping up just yet on the intermediate trend time frames or the higher time frames. But you can see we are very clearly, look at the 12-hour chart. Look at that. clear breakout back at the retest. This is a great place to come into. And what I mean by when I say not a prediction, the idea is that, of course, in trading, we are looking to have here's another perspective, a manageable entrance in case things go the wrong way. So if a lot of traders were trying to catch entrances up here, which I would never do, because you're in, again, that no man's land, that in between space, and when a retrace back down to here is most likely. But this is manageable, not because it's a guaranteed bounce from here, but if we do get a move down, you're most likely going to have, as we've had all these previous interactions, at least a couple of taps maybe of this previous area before heading lower, which means we can enter here with a little bit more confidence, knowing that if things don't go the way we want to, we're going to have options to reposition or exit, which is the whole idea in crypto, because when trading volatile assets, you need to have that flexibility. So here's 89 to 90K is our ideal retracement zone. We're well in that now, really good opportunity. And this is local resistance overhead with 94.5K. So you can trade the range. You could enter here, which is about, I think about probably 5%, just glancing at it. Yeah, 6%, 5%, right? You could trade the range and take profits here, right? Which I would recommend, right? Or you can look to front run now a potential breakout of this upper local resistance level of 94.5K, and then look to take profits up here at 101K. Now, if you want to know why 101K is quite significant, check out Bitcoin update from earlier in the week as we get into this, as the idea is, I'll briefly touch base with it, but the idea would be, and I think I've closed the chart. Let's see if I can load it up. Head and shoulders, here we go. This should be it. So we have this head and shoulders pattern on the that's not the one I wanted, actually. That's not the one I wanted. But the point about 101K is that I'm just trying to find a slightly better chart for you all. If we just zoom out, you can that's not ideal. Where's the other one? Bear with me, folks. Thank you. It's been a very crazy day. Okay, so let's just zoom out on this chart. Okay, let's just zoom out to get this idea then. But check out Bitcoin update. Of course, it gives us a bit of a, here we go. Now you can see 101K, which is here, is essentially the bottom of this upper trading range right here. Okay, and this range does stretch essentially to around 106, but ultimately the 50 MA, if I put it on this chart, I don't know where the other chart's gone. I'm going to find it. Let's find it. It's just be a lot easier. See if I can track it down. I've been here it is. Thank you. I found it. So this is the bit. Here you go. So the 101K you see is flush with the 50 MA. This was the start of the bull run. This was the end of the arguably the end of the bull run, right? Obviously, this is just potato, it's all perspective and so forth. But the first bearish signal we've had, and so any move from here where we are 89K for Bitcoin, there's no guarantee we're going to get back above the 50, because it should be now strong resistance, and therefore 101K is your next take profit area until you see something different. Now, a lot of traders will say, Paul, but I don't want to enter a position here at 89K, even though it's good entrance, and then just benefit from a 10% move, 12% move from here to 101K. What's the point in that? Well, the point is that it's 10% at a bit of leverage. That's 30%, right? 3x leverage. But here's the thing. You don't have to, there's no problem, right, taking profits here at 101K, because that's the right thing to do, because there's no guarantee you're going to head above all of these sellers, right? But if you do then see a break above, there's no problem re-entering on the flip side, right? Exactly essentially where you took profits, but you're doing so, right, once you've had bullish confirmation. So you exit your position on the presumption of more downside. If more downside doesn't come, right, and in fact the price action manages to break above, then you can just re-enter. But you've re-entered on a bullish signal and not the hopes and dreams you have while it's approaching 101K. And that's the whole idea. Hi Lola, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. And everyone else who is viewing across a variety of different platforms. Thanks for joining it. So that's the deal with Bitcoin, essentially. We're in a really good place now. We've been waiting. We've been very patient. I felt like in our private group, I've been like a broken record, talking about this ideal retracement zone and how it's a waiting game. And this is, I don't want to be here saying like, ooh, check it out. Look, if we get a bounce from here, right? Hey, look, I was right. I'm not saying because we haven't had a bounce from here, it could continue lower. But the idea is that this isn't some magical idea or concept I've plucked out my ear. right? This is based on a full analysis of a variety of different charts and key moving averages and so forth, and putting together the probabilities that this is an ideal retracement zone is made up of essentially the most likely place for a reversal. Now, obviously, if Bitcoin is down here, is up here at around 93K, and people are, because you can see here, this is potentially the top part of the range, but this is the top. This is just part of it. People coming in at this point, hoping for a move up from here, but ultimately, but ultimately, and obviously, if we get some bullish news, then Bitcoin could break above there. But we haven't had the bullish news, and therefore you have to presume this is where the buyers are. Where are the buyers? Where are the most sellers? And this is where the most buyers are logically going to be. Now, of course, if Bitcoin had come up all the way up here, hadn't really been rejected by sellers and continued on its way, then we would then start to consider moving this ideal retracement zone up, or maybe a little bit higher, depending on the context. But this is how you need to play it. Visualize where you think the most likely reversal is, not what you want, right? And typically, the best entrance for any asset is the closest price point to invalidation of a bullish context. So, and this is it. So if we lose 89K, if we lose the 200 MA on the 3-day and the 4-hour, then of course we lose the bullish context and we potentially are going to be heading down. Therefore, this is the invalidation line as well as an optimal entry point. And therefore, you've got all of that lovely confluence, which is making sense. There should be some buyers here. Now, there's no guarantee of that, but it's the first logical place to come in and enter. And you've also got this kind of low volume node here as well, just before the main tranche across here. So that's the idea, waiting for these entrances, entering positions based on this. And what we have now is we have a situation. If we turn our attention to NUM, which is a altcoin setup, which we've been discussing in group. Here's NUM. So NUM had this inverse head and shoulders with a nice breakout. Nice trading activity on that breakout, perfect retest. But if you missed that and you want to benefit from a higher time frame retrace, then of course you've got the neckline. But in group, I said to everyone very clearly that based on where Bitcoin is at the time, which was Monday, 5th of January, we switched back to Bitcoin. That's not Bitcoin. Monday, 5th of January. So where's 5th? So here's the 5th. Bitcoin was at resistance, approaching resistance on the 5th, right? So Bitcoin was running into a bunch of sellers, and therefore, for me to suggest to people that we should be coming in here on the 5th for a potential bounce for NUM is high. It's not going to work out, and therefore I've looked at Bitcoin, realized that we've probably got some more downside ahead. And then I said in the group a few days ago, look, we're probably looking for an entrance close to 770, which is here, because Bitcoin has more likely some more downside ahead. Now, we've had that retrace from Bitcoin. It could continue lower, but now you'll see NUM has stopped. And then again, in the group, we were talking about the fact that, okay, so, if you want additional confirmation that NUM is going to reverse, now you know that Bitcoin is aligned, Bitcoin's at support, NUM's at support. We quickly identified the correct level, right? We haven't had a bounce yet, right? But that's the idea. If we put the order block on, we can see that other people, it's already there. You can see people already have the same idea. We're writing an order block. But the other thing is you can do is you can look at the 30-minute chart. Once you've identified a range, here's 770, and then wait for some kind of bullish confirmation. So we can wait to see for NUM. See, NUM is breaking out right now. It's trying to break out of this diagonal resistance, which is not the signal I'll be looking for. Ideally, I'll be looking for a break of this diagonal trend line. But then once you see that, you can then start to enter NUM, and you've got probabilities in your favor. Now, there is another element to this, and is total 3 ES. Now, total 3 ES has been rejected from resistance, which means coming down now, we're going to have some potential, that's a little bit of selling pressure on the altcoins. But if we get a bounce from here, from total 3 ES, Bitcoin's in a good place, NUM's in a good place, that trade's going to play out. And this is the whole game. Now, we can't necessarily have all of these aligned perfectly, but total 3 ES has had a bit of a retrace now, and it may not come all the way back down to here, and we could get a reversal. So we've got 2.5 of the ideas we need in order for. We've had Bitcoin in the right place, we've had altcoin in the right place, and we've partially got a retrace from total 3 ES, meaning we could see a reversal from here and just see if there's any divergence popping up, right? And this is how you enter a trade. This is how you assess the conditions, and you don't have to wait for everything to be aligned. But you're not going to enter a trade with NUM, as an example, if Bitcoin is at resistance, which is why we didn't. But now we have two of the three things. We have Bitcoin and the altcoin setup itself, not quite the money flow behind us, but we have something to trade. We have probabilities in our favor because of that. And that's this is the whole way to do it, right? These ideal retracement zones are all about positioning and so forth. So interesting position for very, very quick there. Very interesting positioning at the moment for the crypto. But Bitcoin, I can say right now, here and now, is in a good place for a buy. No guarantee, because again, you can look at this chart and you think, well, look, technically, this is the best place to buy on this chart, right? Because here's the POC down here, right? And we could have a retrace back down to here, but as a buyer, right, we're going to be below these key moving averages in 89K again. So there's a narrative for the bulls to hold here, right? So this is a pretty good place to enter. And again, you could say I'm going to take profits up here at this key trend line as well, which is approaching 101K. So Bitcoin's in a good position today. So we've potentially got some good trading opportunities. But let's just run through some of the charts today and have a look at some of the setups which we've maybe got playing out. So this is one I'm still charting. So wait for altcoin gems tomorrow for that. Oh, and just a reminder, of course, let's sip of coffee. James has got a tech video out today covering the stocks and commodities market. So make sure you've checked that out. It's really good. I've already watched it. Might watch it again because it's got lots of interesting insights. So please check that out today. That's on the YouTube channel right now, was released this morning. But let's have a look. This is Polkadot. This is DOT/USDT 4-hour chart. Now, we've been struggling with Polkadot for a while, switching from a short setup to a long setup, or rather from a long setup to a short setup. Now, the advantage of a lot of these setups is the long setup didn't get confirmation, so we've never entered it. But the short setup was a little bit funny because we lost these key levels, but then the market started to reverse in January. So timing's important. But what has happened now is Polkadot has broken above the 200 MA, and it's just in a really good position to enter because this is essentially support here, right? And now the moving average 200 MA is essentially right below it, which is really good, ideal sort of TA we want. So expect a little bit more of a retrace from DOT. And because we know the moving average is there, we're probably looking to come in not so much around $2.05, but closer to $1.99, something like that. So we've got that nice confluence of the moving averages, and then we can potentially ride it up from there. Now, there's obviously DOT has to shake off some of this bearish narrative, right? We still haven't surpassed this previous swing high, which is why there's a red order block there. But very manageable entrance, right? To come in for Polkadot right now. So just wait for it to retrace to around 1.99, then you got a really good setup. So that's Polkadot, looking really good. Hi, Dana. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And again, any questions you've got, folks, any chance you want me to check out anything you're thinking of trading, let me know and we'll jump in and have a look. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to issue. So that's Polkadot. XRP, again, finally got the break of the 200 MA with this double bottom, broke out this descending channel, which we've been in for a while. This is the 4-hour chart. We've broken, the 200 MA is not in an ideal position, but nonetheless, it's there. And we've had a nice move up, and now we're retracing. And the majority of the orders are around where, our ideal retracement zone is. Now, we've got the 200 MA kind of sitting in the middle. So it looks like 1.95 is a good place to come in for XRP. Again, not suggesting, of course, that that's guaranteed it's going to move up from here, but the probabilities will be in our favor. And the reason why it's 1.95 as opposed to 1.9 is because of that moving average, right? But you might get a dip, so you could scale in at 1.95 with half of your position and look to enter again at maybe 1.9 or even 1.87 if you get a further dip to the points of control, and then ride it up from there, taking profits at around 2.6 would be a good idea. Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. So that would be TP2, which I think is probably reasonable at this point in time if Bitcoin has movement. But XRP, again, nice little position to come in on. Looks like we're getting a bit of bounce from BTC now. There's none. We've already talked about that. Doge, let's have a look at Dogecoin. So Doge, similar setup to XRP at the moment. And now very difficult trading action for Doge over the last few months. As you can see, we had this breakout of this channel, and it just got the positioning of the moving average caused a lot of problems and confusion with buyers being stuck essentially. It's kind of like a car going off the road and just like not quite crashing into the trees, but still on the side of the road kicking up dust. But finally, Doge found its feet and got itself in a tradable position, which is essentially a break above the 200 MA, a break above this key support line. You'll see these previous bounce points for the price action, right? So it's very significant support for the price action. We've now broken above it. We have surpassed these previous swing highs. So that's quite bullish. We had a higher high, and now we're coming in on the back of a golden cross between the 50 and the 200. So we have a nice flush entrance, I would say, pretty much bang on 136. 0.136 is a very manageable entrance, right? You could obviously wait for a bit of a dip to 1.34 with the moving average, but I would say looking to come in at around 1.36 flush is a pretty manageable trade, because you've got that 200 MA, which is acting nice confluence. We've had a higher high, and that golden cross. So that's another good setup for Doge. And I think we can, because of that higher high, we can look at TP2 as opposed to TP1 to take profits, which if we do get a move from here, that's going to be a nice 40%. So a lot of things are lining up. This is going to be an altcoin gem tomorrow as well, I think. Right, so this is Neo, not in a very good position. You've got this broadening wedge, which is broken to the downside of. So this was a short setup. This is all over the place right now. So this is not very tradable. So I'm going to just get rid of Neo. Let's get rid of that. Bye-bye. No use to me. Let's have a look. Yeah, Lola. I'll check ADA once again for sure. Right, let's check out. Let's keep going. Right, Fetch AI, top performer at the beginning of the bull run, along with RNDR. I traded this back. I was trading this back in October 2023. Made a nice 100% profit on a cup and handle play with FET, but it's been struggling since this last year. And if we just zoom out to the big picture, you can see, like, you know, this is where we've been. In fact, this is the launching off point for these amazing gains, which we had at the start of the bull run. And I think it was the cup and handle I was trading. I think there was a cup and handle, I think, or something. It wasn't that. Maybe it was this. I can't remember which bit I was trading. Was it that? No, it was this. It was definitely this. I was trading it around somewhere around here. It was a 100% move of some sort. I think it was. Was it this? Yeah, it was something like that. I was trading around here. But you can see we are now at support. Pretty much, we're on the floor in terms of the big picture, looking like we're curving round. And breaking out. So a good opportunity for FET, not just for short-term trade, but potentially for a long-term play as well. So this could be a good investment pick, potentially, if you've got some faith in the AI space. So we've had a golden cross again with FET. We've had a clear break above the double bottom neckline, which was pretty perfect with support there. And we've got the point of control here, which we've also broken above. So we now have this nice little pocket. Now, the pocket here is essentially straddling the neckline of the double bottom and where the 200 MA is. I would say that a bounce from the point of control is likely. Is possible, especially with the 50 MA coming up and down. But I don't want to be right now at the start of January overexposed a little bit. So I'm still maintaining that this area, starting in around 0.23, is a good place to come in for a long play with FET. Now, of course, if we do see a bounce from here and we surpass this previous swing high, then we can reevaluate. But just like with Bitcoin, wait for your ideal entrance and then pounce on it when it comes. And this might be the same deal with FET, as it has just come alive. This is sort of like, I mean, there's an argument to come in at the point of control, because this is kind of what part of the trading range we've been in since the last quarter of last year. This is the October crash. So there's an argument to come in at the point of control, but I'm not sure enough buyers are going to show up. Let's have just a quick look at the order block and just do due diligence. Yeah, so okay, so you know, I might look at this. Look at all that red overhead. A lot of people trying to get out of their positions where they got stuck following the crash. So I mean, that has to be taken into consideration as well. The fact that, you know, you're going to have a lot of people potentially stuck in FET from up here, looking to potentially take profit. So you have to consider that as well. And there is an argument to scaling in at around 0.25, just below this first order block. But really, if I was looking at this, I would say, okay, so we got top order block, middle order block, bottom order block. What's the play here? Well, you could say that rule this order block out. This is probably the one that you need to come into. So you can maybe start to scale in around 2.4 with an intention of adding again at 2.2 to hopefully scoop up a retrace. And if you do enter just here at 2.4 and the market does reverse, then you're still in a position. But you can see TPs are, let me just turn the order blocks off. You can see the TPs for this are going to be quite modest overhead, knowing that this is going to be a lot of selling activity overhead and the price action may struggle, and we don't want to be part of that battle. So yeah, FET is just recovering, but it could still just be trading this range. So presume a move back down to here is what I would suggest still, and the RSI might be supportive of that as well. But yeah, potential play with FET. Let's have a look at ADA for Lola. Have I got ADA open, or have I got rid of ADA? Nope, I don't have ADA. So let's load up my ADA chart. Or is this ADA? Nope. Let's load up ADA. Here we go. Lola, what we're going to do with your ADA trade? Dear me. No, that's not what I want. Let's try it again. Find the right chart. ADA, let's look for a December one. There we go. Let's try that one. Perfect. Here we go. Okay, so let's have a look at ADA. Now, this is not in the context of your trade, Lola. I'll have to find your setup, right? But but use this analysis to determine potentially what you're going to do. You've got to get out of that trade, right? I think it's at the point where you need to take a loss. But let's see where ADA might be going to help you. Okay, so we're at support, right? This has been a significant area for resistance and support where the price action has previously bounced. You can see now the 200 MA is way up here, so we don't have that potential bullish context, but that's going to be maybe take profit. But we have tapped above this previous range. We've broken above this little range we're in. So coming in, right, so we have got some kind of narrative, but here's the thing, we're still in a downtrend technically, right? We haven't surpassed this previous high, so there's a bit of caution here. So because of that, I would suggest, again, we're trying to just come in around this area, which will be, let's just draw a little box, right? Because you got to put yourselves in the mind of some of the other traders and what they're seeing. And what I'm seeing is ambiguity of direction, right? Still, right? Because this is moving, of course, on the rest of the market. We had this breakout of this falling wedge, but we haven't really changed the trend yet, right? This is a lower low compared to that. This is a lower high compared to that. Therefore, presuming we're at the very least going to come back and tap support again, approaching 0.33 would be a safe bet, especially because this 200 MA is still all the way up here, which is something we need to get above for a bullish context. So showing some signs of recovery, and we are at long-term support, but you still need to maintain a position as close to support as you can, because there just isn't enough of a bullish premise here to come in the middle of the range. So look for an entrance maybe approaching 3.4 and 0.33, and then at least if ADA does then lose this level, you'll likely have, as I always say, lots of interaction by sellers before it heads lower, which will allow you to reposition. So this is ADA is still in a bit of an uncertain position, but it looks like we could be having an opportunity here to turn around, but we just haven't had the reversal pattern yet. So this is the box to look into. And if of course you're trying to exit your position lower, which I can't quite remember where it is, then this, but it's not looking good yet for ADA. We've got an idea, but it's still just a support buy. Essentially, is the summary of what I will say. So I hope that was helpful. Let's have a look. I was thinking of exiting around 0.5, right? And how much of a loss would that be? Right, 0.5 is doable, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if that's what I applaud you for having that plan. I'm presuming that's going to be a bit of a loss, right? Right, yeah. Oh, no, here's the October crash. I think you entered up around here, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe. I mean, to be a bit optimistic, 0. I see what you're saying. This is support. This could be quite strong resistance. So, yeah, 0.5 would be a safe bet, and it's certainly the price action could reach there if Bitcoin heads up from where it is and bounces. So maybe that's the plan, right? Just get out at 0.5, cut your losses, because there's no guarantee right now we're going to see a break above this level either, because we just haven't had the trend changed yet. So yeah, okay, I think that's a fair plan to try and get out at 0.5. But you need to just Lola. What I would say is about that. Is it's really hard to take a loss sometimes, and it's not like you're watching a black swan event destroy your position, right? Which always happens, right? But what you were looking at is, as we've discussed previously, you made a decision which you weren't particularly happy with because you tried to enter a position right at the back of a crash, and you got stuck and you got trapped out, right? Now we've all been there. Trust me, I've been there, right? But you have to look at this slightly differently. This is not don't look at it as a negative thing. Look at it as assuring more consistent trading decisions going forward. Because if you make the decision now, quite rightly, to say, you know what, I'm taking my hit, 30%, whatever. I mean, what's that going to be? Let's have a look. What's your hit going to be? Approximately, it's about 25%. Okay, that's you can stomach that, presuming it's only a portion of your part of your portfolio. You're saying to yourself, right, I made a mistake. I owning it. I'm now looking at TA correctly and recognizing that there is still more potential downside for ADA. It's reasonable to assume you might come up to this level, right? And therefore, that would be a good place to exit, because there's no guarantee we're going to get above that because it's strong resistance. Take your loss, live to fight another day. Don't make the mistake again. And it should actually make you a better trader as a result. So try and look at it as taking this loss as improving your skills, right? Frame it that way, as opposed to what some people might do. It's like, oh, I just took a 25%, 30% loss. I'm a terrible trader. No. If you have taken that loss and you've made that decision just to cut the cord, right? You've leveled up as a trader. It's a positive thing, okay? And I think, and that's what we need to recognize and look at it that way. If you can do that, super proud. Well done. Okay, but let's continue along the train today. Where are we going? FET, ADA, BTC, BNB. Right, BNB. Great setup happening as well. Pop. So BNB, did I do BNB last week? Maybe I'll put BNB on the list for today, for Altcoin Gems tomorrow. BNB. Right, so BNB, we've had a double bottom, then another double bottom, then another breakout, and now we've got the 200 MA nice and flush with this lower level, which is essentially around 870. Now, BNB is pretty bullish, has been bullish despite look at, despite Bitcoin, it was entering price discovery, broke above $1,000 last year. So, we're going to have a lot of interest potentially coming in at this level. And with Bitcoin, as we've established at support as well, BNB is in a great place for a long trade. And so that you're looking for essentially an entry around 870. It's really classic. It's the double bottom neckline. It's the 200 MA on the flip side. And it's also a typical jumping off point for the upside. So, and also it's got nice confluence, sort of, with the stopping point for the October liquidation crash. And BNB is in a great position. Everything's lining up. And again, this is the whole deal, people. I'm not waking up on January the 1st trying to jump into trades to try and catch the January thing. I want things to be where I want them to be, right? And BNB, okay, it's taking its time. We've been aware of this setup since it's been under here, and you could have entered and front run this, and that's great, but ultimately, waiting for these moves, waiting for the stars to align to Bitcoin where we need to be, BNB where we need to be, it's worth it. So what's January the 8th now? So we waited a week, let the dust settle, and now we're trying to capitalize on the next move in January instead of the 1st, and this will be quite telling. And a TP for BNB at around 1,076, perfectly reasonable. To get up there. We've seen it's been a stopping point for price action previously. So yeah, pretty good setup. I would have liked to have seen a slightly higher high, maybe a move into this range, but looking pretty good and very manageable, especially when you've got support below as well, because you'll see with these ranges, even if you do head a bit lower from here, you're going to get probably a lot of this interaction before anything else, which will allow you to reposition and get out, which is exactly what we need to do with risk assets. So that's BNB. Cool stuff. Bitcoin help. Lola, tell me what help you need with Bitcoin, please. What specific help do you need? And I'll jump into that. Obviously, with Bitcoin, we're in a good place for a long now. All right, it's a very manageable place. Not a prediction, but we're in a very manageable place. Thanks, Dana. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of work, Chang. It's a lot of work. But let's continue. Let's just continue rocking out some setups. It's a really good day. So this is Bitcoin Daily, just a perspective on the symmetrical triangle, and this is essentially, we've got this, and this is the thing, when you're looking at ideal retracement zones for Bitcoin on multiple time frames, when you see setups like this, which are suggesting slightly lower retrace for Bitcoin, maybe to about 88, then you can weigh that up. Okay, so this setup says Bitcoin could retrace to 88 if we get a proper retest. These setups are suggesting 93K. These setups are suggesting 89K. And then you put them all together in a pot and you see which is essentially the balance between the two. And 89K to 90K is the balance between the two. So we may not get on this chart 88K dip, right? But because of this chart, it's informed the creation of an ideal retracement zone on another chart, right? and this is the whole game. And I see a lot of people, really great traders, still just very stuck to one chart, right? They're very stuck to one chart, and they'll with confidence will say, Bitcoin is now ready to go, and that kind of thing. And it's and I'm like, well, show me your other charts. Where's your reasoning? Where's your multi-time frame analysis, right? Because yesterday, when there's ambiguity about what Bitcoin was going to do, I was looking at some of the order blocks. Excuse me, not the order blocks, the liquidity maps, and I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly what was going to happen, because it depends on the different models what we're looking at. Like Model 3 on for some of the liquidity maps. I can't remember the site, is a bit more up to date in 24 hours, whereas Model 1 is a little bit more lagging. It's trying to interpret all of these data points. But if you're not looking at multiple charts, multiple timeframes, and multiple perspectives, I'm not sure how you can possibly come to a assessment of what Bitcoin is likely to do next. Because these multi-time frame analyses like this can just give you an insight into essentially what's happening, because you can look for divergences. So it's yesterday, as an example, if I saw a bullish divergence across the 31 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 12 hour and daily at say 91k, I would be more inclined to maybe move my ideal retracement zone up a little bit on the presumption we'll have a bounce from a higher price point. But we didn't see that. I haven't seen that, and there was only a couple of divergences, just like there is now, suggesting that 89k at the very least is going to be tapped, and that's the best area to come in on. And this is the sort of reasoning which you need to take a yes I would, yes I'm going to take a position with Bitcoin at the current price, absolutely, because this is what we do. We're waiting for things to be in what is the ideal situation with probabilities in our favor, and then we enter, right? That's what we do, right? So yeah, absolutely be taking a position on Bitcoin at this point. But as I said in Bitcoin update at the start of the week, I'm not holding it. I won't be holding it for oh, and by the way, great to see you, MD, as well. I'm sorry, I missed you in the stream last week, because I wasn't paying attention to the private group comments. So thanks for being here. And I'm sorry I missed your comment last week. And again, sorry, if you want me, I realized the other day as well, I'm referring to you as MD, which is your initials. But if you want me to call you by another name, please let me know. I don't want to be disrespectful. So Manu, let me know what you want me to call you. But thanks for being here. Yeah. But yes, I will be. Ethereum, let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is at support as well. Yeah, everything's lining up. You see, it's nice confluence, right? And it doesn't mean the market won't crash from here, right? Because it could, right? But we just want to enter positions with probabilities. Okay, so this is Ethereum USD daily, and then the 6 hour on the other window. Yeah, so one of our group members was highlighting a diagonal trend line like this. I don't think that was a line. Let me just see if I can find it. It is that. So I think it was something like that. So for Ethereum, we have this support here, right? So we are at that support. Now I would look at that and say, well, where are the most buyers? The most buyers are below here, right? But we've already tapped that a few times. So there's a reasonable to think we could have a bounce from here. So there's a solid argument, right? But key support is 2842 below. Now you look at this chart, Ethereum USD 6 hour, and there's a reason why I got these two up, right? We have the 200 MA and the 6 hour just below the price action, essentially flush with the diagonal line. So that's offering confluence potentially for a move up from here, creating a nice little pocket. So there is a solid argument for a move up from here from Ethereum. The most manageable play is still going to be at 284, but that opportunity may have been missed at this point. So coming in here is not too bad, right? Because you've got the 200 MA, and again, if you do get the beauty of entering actually on ascending diagonal trend lines is if you do get a breakdown, right, and you start crying because it's going in the wrong direction, you typically you get that bearish retest. But with an ascending diagonal line, that bearish retest typically will happen at a higher price point. So the probabilities of you being able to eke out even a little bit of profit and certainly achieve no loss if the market goes the wrong way, if it breaks lower, considering we have support below as well, which means there's going to be buyers showing up to give us a little bit of a bounce, it's a manageable entrance in that respect. So I think, yeah, good call, MD. I think we can say, let's say 3,015, maybe $3,000, 3,020, somewhere around it in that area. Not a bad idea to come in. Not a bad idea. And again, it's not about Ethereum is going up from here. I don't know what the market is going to do next, because I said at the start of the year that, as I've just said earlier, Great, thank you. I appreciate that. It's good initials. I was saying at the start of the year that we get a January bump, and we can expect to see a move in January. But what is going to determine the market direction, right, is going to be the second move, right? And this is the junction point we're at the moment. We're lining up for the second move, and if we get a breakdown from here, we know the bearish narrative is going to continue, and then this was just a January bump. But all we can do as traders is enter at the most probable locations in support of a move up, but also in a manageable position if it goes down. And that's all we can do as traders, and therefore that's why we'll be taking a Bitcoin position, and maybe you could take an Ethereum position as well. I mean, it's lining up BNB. There's quite a lot to choose from actually at the moment, so lots of ideas coming around. So it's a good time right now. But again, don't be like, if you listen to any commentators which are saying we're going to the moon now, I mean, based on what, right? But we have an entrance point, right? And based on continuation and the next move up. And of course, we don't want to be watching the second move and thinking, oh, I should have entered that. No, it's time to enter now, right? But we just have to be mindful about the areas which we're entering for risk management. If BTC does not go below it, then Ethereum can go as high as 3,600. Let's have a look. 3,600. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a good shout. Yeah, good shout. Yeah, for sure. That's, I mean, and we talked about with Bitcoin, like you can trade oh my God, get rid of that chart. You can, the first take profit price point for a bounce from here is 94.5K, right? And then beyond that, because this is a bit of a low liquidity space here, if we can get above 94.5K, then it's probably smooth sailing all the way up to 101. And then 101 is the next take profit price point. And of course, then 101 on the multi-time frame is a significant level. So you've got two take profit price points right now, all of which are presuming more downside, right? And that's the way we need to do it, right? We have to presume we're entering a bear market and we see something different. And as I said at the start, there's no problem taking profits here, but that's the idea. But yeah, Ethereum spot on, MD spot on. That's a good analysis. Right, so just talking about, we've talked about ADA. Let's move on from that. BNB, we've done that. Lots of exciting setups at the moment. Ooh, ZEC, what has happened? I've just noticed this. Let's just talk about that. What has happened to ZEC? Whoa, okay, here we go. I did not notice this. I haven't checked this. Okay, so let me just give you a rundown on what's been going on with ZEC in the group. Just noticed it's been a very busy day. So we had an ascending triangle on the back of a double bottom and a solid breakout, which is when it was an altcoin gem a couple of weeks ago. So we had a nice 25% move off that one. And then we entered a bull flag. Now, in group, I was telling people that the bull flag probably isn't such a good idea at the moment with the market the way it is, because it's a little bit overextended, right? But Zcash is a high performer, and people will be looking to buy the dip. But and I was saying essentially that the best place to enter would be here on the bottom of this continuation pattern of this bull flag, flush with the neckline of this ascending triangle and this key support or resistance area. So, to be in a manageable place. But what seems to have just happened, when did this occur? Right, this morning. All right. So it's broken completely down, right? And it's come back down to here. Now, here's the thing. Because we were suggesting to enter here, right? And you can see why. I mean, there's tons of confluence, right? It's a solid idea, right? All of this. But if we do get the breakdown, where is ZEC going now? Right? It's going to come back up to retest, right? And therefore, anyone entering a position based on our TA and the analysis of this setup will be able to get out because of that, as opposed to if people had tried to break out by the breakout of this bull flag, which we suggested was not a good idea. You may not even get your exit now, because the price action is not going to guarantee to come all the way back up here, but it's almost assured to come up to here, right? And it is the whole point about these exits. But that's quite interesting. I need to look into exactly what's been happening with ZEC and why that's happening. See, it's already happening right now. See, look, here's the recovery coming, which is so important to come in as flush to the bottom of a range as possible, because when dealing with volatile asset classes, you need to be able to use that volatility to help you escape if things go bad. Now, I'm not really worried about ZEC at this point, because we're probably going to get that retest exit if anyone entered at this price point. But also, it's just a buying opportunity. That's a bit of an anomaly, though. That's a little bit strange. I'm going to look into why that happened, because that is a little bit bizarre, if I'm honest. Yeah, it's a bit strange. There's no reason. I'm not quite sure what the reason is for that. Let's have a look at total. Total 3. I mean, yeah, we've had a rejection, but we've got buyers. That's very strange. I'm going to look into ZEC. Very interesting. Maybe something's happened. We'll take a look. Very interesting. They are starting. Oh, right. Okay. ZEC team quick. Right. Okay. Right. I need to get into that. Thank you for that. I haven't checked the news feed today. Oh dearie me. They are starting a new company. Oh, right. Okay. News event. Okay. Let me let's see if I can find some information about that right now. Let's use ChatGPT just to be quick. Thank you for that, MD. Zcash news team quit. Let's have a look. The entire development team, and the main of the electric coin company, ECC, the main entity building Zcash, has resigned en masse after an escalating governance dispute for the non-profit bootstrap board that oversees Zcash support strategy. The CEO, Josh, wow, okay. That's public, so, okay, wow, I'm gonna have to get into that. That's crazy. Wow, what a hit. What a big hit for one of the top performers. Right, crazy. Okay, all right. Well, but nonetheless, obviously these news events are a little bit concerning. But let's just hope we get that bounce for an exit if you had that position. Right. Okay. Ooh, interesting news. Right. And when did that happen? Crazy. Okay. Hey there, the Tito. The Tito. I don't recognize that flag. It seems familiar. Can you where are you hailing from, the Tito? Let's know what that flag is. It's a very good looking flag. What country is that? Remind me. A little bit ashamed. I'm quite well traveled, but I don't have my flags down. Thanks for joining us. Egypt. Right. Thank you. There we go. Egypt. Thank you. You're right on the money today, MD. Thanks. Let's test MD on other flags. Good job. Well, welcome from Egypt. Okay, so Zcash having a bit of trouble. We'll get into that and we'll maybe cover that next week. But okay, concerning. Right, that's the reason why. That's a bit confusing. Okay, news event. Right, RNDR, render. Okay, another top performer. Now we did post this setup, but it was not particularly tradable because it just has gone up so fast. But this was another setup which we posted in our private group. I didn't make it to the Altcoin Gems, I don't think. And so this has gone up pretty significantly since the breakout of this ascending triangle. We're giving about 87%, which is pretty impressive. I was a little bit surprised by this. Now I have investment positions in RNDR, and this is going to allow me to reposition some of them because I got a little bit stuck up here in some positions. So this is great news. But we didn't quite. The entry for this would have been a retest of the ascending triangle. We didn't get that, right? So a difficult one to trade. But now, in order to where can we enter? We've put the fibs on and we've got the golden zone just below us. So if you're trying to catch RNDR, don't chase this. Don't chase this for whatever reason. Okay, this is quite a strong move. So we want to wait for a retrace. And so I don't think we're going to come all the way back down here now. But the golden zone between the 0.5 and 618 fib level looks like a really nice play. So if you are looking to get back in RNDR to potentially ride it up now from here, it's giving good signs that it wants to kind of recover. But you see, this is the big picture. Right. I mean, this is where we need to be, and we're still down here. We haven't surpassed this swing high, so no need to get carried away. But I don't think if you look at when you look at these assets and you're trying to figure out where it's going to come down, you want to look for in crypto 50-60% sort of retrace, and the golden zone will give us that. Right, it'll give us that retrace. So here we go, 87%. There we go. Yeah, so that's 50% retrace. There we go. So yeah, the golden zone, if you're looking for entrance in RNDR, don't chase this. Don't get excited by this. But come back to the golden zone. And you're looking then for an entrance between 1.78 and 1.67. And I'll definitely be taking a position on that because RND is a good asset to be on. Right. The Tito, what are you trading, by the way, over there in Egypt? What are you trading? What markets do you trade? And what cryptos do you trade? Presuming you're here, let us know. Right, so let's continue. Really straightforward run-through session today. Ina, ENA USD for our Athena triple bottom, breakout of the range, really straightforward play. You've got two options: come back down to an entrance on the retest at 0.21, or look for a deeper retrace of 0.2. I think based on this move, we've come up a couple of ranges, almost kind of hit our initial TP from this breakout move. So a good little play. So if you're looking to enter ENA, a nice little setup for a range play, 0.21, that'll be the area to come in on. And be quite modest with your profits. I think we've had a move up from here, but I would still maintain that taking profits at 0.26 for Athena is probably best. But this is showing, because again, until we've got above this trading range, right? I don't want to be too optimistic, right? So just, it's very important just to recognize where the most likely take profit will be. So coming in here, further dip potentially we could see, looking at total 3 and how it's coming down, come to enter in here, and then again look to take profits where we've come. That'd be a safe play. And if you did that, that's going to be a nice little 20%, put a little bit of leverage on it. There you go, really nice trade. That's ENA looking really well. H-bar is in our ideal entrance point right now. I need to post that in group. We've had a double bottom, textbook, broke out of the 4-hour 200 MA. We've had confirmation of a break of this pattern. We're essentially where the October crash was, and now we're retesting really nice and flush. So H-bar right now is in a textbook position for an entrance for a play potentially up to here, which would be about 54% move, and in a very nice manageable area. Let's just zoom out just to double check perspective. Yeah, I mean, the only disadvantage is that we are in, we're in this, this is not a nice range to be in, but ultimately, it's good low average price. We've had a very textbook sort of play. It's difficult not to come in here, if I'm honest. And it's the moving average, the MA is giving us nice confluence. And let's just have a look at the order blocks and see if other people have got the same idea. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of hesitation, right? But I'll be happy to come in with it. But I would say a smaller position here with H-bar, because we just haven't had additional confirmation of a trend change yet. We've just had this kind of pattern play out. So yeah, maybe smaller positions here, but certainly a nice play with H-bar for sure. Ethereum, all right. I am following you in the private group. Oh, excellent. Okay, excellent. Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. The crypto space is full of lots and lots of criticism, so it's always welcome. So thank you for my ego. Thanks you. Always trying the best to serve our community. So thanks for being here. Right, so that's H-bar. Nice little run of a setup here. What's this? Dot again. I was talking about Dot is Crypto Pulse today, not for members on YouTube, but for the private group. So yeah, Crypto Pulse is just a really lo-fi touch base, 3 to 4 minutes, touch base with charts, which I do. It's released for members on YouTube twice a week, 1 Bitcoin and 1 altcoin. But if you're in the private group, Tito, as you know, of course, there is we could do this 5 days a week, just a little bit of a focus on one of the top 20 cryptos. So if you're not in the private group and you fancy having like a daily video, just lo-fi, discussing some of these setups on a daily basis, so you've got something to potentially trade outside of the normal setups I post in altcoin gems, then that's another reason to join the private group. But DOT is looking like it's also lining up for a nice play. Now, again, like we're talking about with Bitcoin, don't, get things where you want them to be, right? Say, I want DOT to be here, right? You can see there's an order block there. You can just see there's an order block there, right? And you want it as flush with the 200 MA as you can. So, you're essentially aiming for a $2 entry, right? And if you don't get it, don't enter. Don't worry about it. If it goes up from here, just move on to another one, right? But $2 will give you that protection. Like with ZEC, if we do break lower, hopefully we'll get that bearish retest. Let's just check in with what ZEC's doing. Oh, I can't believe I missed that today. All right, strong bounce. This is good. Okay, so hopefully, and then if we get that retest, that highlights the importance of, again, coming in at support. So yeah, okay. DOT. So there's DOT. No, let's leave that one for now as a setup in the group. But yeah, I think that's about it, really. Just scrolling through. This, you can see total 3 ES. We've had a nice bounce from this pocket, highlighting how these indexes can be very helpful to assess when is a good time to buy altcoins. So you're looking at your charts, you're looking at Bitcoin, you're looking at total 3, and if you can get them all lined up at support in the right area, then you get a nice move. Now, typically you don't get all 3 lined up, as we've talked about at the start of this session, but yeah, very important to recognize, the buying red mentality is very important to being successful in trading, but it's not a blind buy. You're obviously doing it strategically. So, seeing that this is a good point, it's make or break time is a good option, because it's a binary proposition then, right? If altcoins head upwards and you enter positions, then you're in the money. If they don't, you're at this key support level, so most likely the index is going to retest it. And we've already talked about ascending diagonal trend line. So yeah, good. XRP, have we talked about XRP? XRP. I've got another XRP chart. Here it is. Yeah, I think we've already talked about XRP, but yeah, we've got this retracement zone. We already talked about that. Okay, moving on. Aave, yeah, there's a trading opportunity. It's been a bit funny, this one. It's been really struggling to get the moving averages and everything in the right position. So this probably is coming back down to support. So maybe not. So that's why this setup's still there. So yeah, again, context is everything. So maybe Aave, we're just waiting for a support buy again. You can see these are where people are looking to buy 145. Anything else to pay attention to? No, we've covered it. Ethereum. Yeah, Sui back of a golden cross as well. Difficult entrance potentially, probably looking at this play for Sui, which is essentially a 1.47 entrance, right? On the back of this golden cross, maybe a little bit higher, maybe 1.5, but wait for this one to come down for sure. Probably not going to see that. So that's probably the play with Sui. Anything else taking my fancy? Right, yeah, let's end on this. And I'll just, if there's any other questions you want asking, throw them out now, and then we'll end. So this is Bitcoin 2-day chart, and again, right, so we've had a break of 89k, we've had some bullish movement, we've potentially got to move up from here, right? And here's 89k, but until we get this potential double bottom confirmed, or at the very least we break above this range, right? This is arguably be a reversal pattern, right? Until we get a move up from here, we have to presume more downside. Okay, so this is the context, right? I will be entering a Bitcoin. I am going to enter a Bitcoin position where we are now, for sure, right? It's really straightforward, it's a no-brainer, right? But just being very mindful of the language we're using to ourselves when we're talking about Bitcoin, right? So don't be seeing you've got a movement on the 2-hour chart and say, that's it, bottom's in, Bitcoin's going, because look, this is the bottom, and it's not in yet, right? Because we haven't had confirmation. So take your bullish signals, stack them up. Once you've had one or two, you can start to enter positions, and as they stack up, you can add extra exposure. But I mean, the management side of trading is always frustrating to a lot of people, right? Especially because it requires a lot of effort, right? And one of the reasons why people join trading groups, right, or one of the people who subscribe to James on YouTube and so forth, and myself now, is because we need the orientation to the market constantly to be good traders. Now, you can offset that, you can defer that to people. You can subscribe to your favorite YouTuber if they're providing you proper insights, right, and not just nonsense. And then you can go off that. So, like in the private group, as Tito was saying, you can have a daily coverage, which is acclimatizing you and giving the basics of where we are on any given basis, and then you go away and chart your setups and you enter based on your own strategy. Because the idea is, of course, I'll provide you a setup, and I try and I provide them with like the default generic TA setups. Like, this is essentially where you want to put your stop loss. This is where you want to put your thing. But you can look at it and think, you know what? I recognize this sort of setup, and the indicator I use is suggesting coming at a higher price point, and then that's fine. Trade it the way you want it. But the important thing is that whatever you're doing, whether you're getting multiple perspectives from James or myself or other YouTubers and whatnot, right, you are looking around nonetheless, and you're looking at all your charts and you're getting a sense, because when the stars align, that's where the money's made. And right now, today, January the 8th, is one of those opportunities. Right now, maybe Bitcoin will crash tomorrow, make me look like an idiot, right? But it's not about prediction. It's about getting in the right place with probabilities in your favor and then taking action. That's it. And then taking action. And if it goes the wrong way, then okay. But you can't get upset with yourself, because you're doing exactly as you're supposed to. And you're doing exactly what other traders are supposed to, right? And then hopefully it goes in your favor. And typically, when you do that, they do go in your favor, right? And this is the most important thing. But every decision you make always needs to be not about this first. It needs to be about managing risk first, which is why when I had the conversation in people in the group about ZEC, was I was always very mindful of being in manageable positions in case things go down. And maybe if people had entered a ZEC position, I have a very tiny position. It's very negligible, right? And I'll be looking to get out immediately. I'll be switching it to, right. And this is why it's important to not get ahead of yourself. Recognize that the market is a little bit hesitant right now. Obviously, this was a black swan thing for ZEC, right? This was a black swan thing for ZEC for sure, right? But I mean, look, when I was trading in crypto, black swan events were happening every Tuesday, right? So it was like, I'm used to them, which is why I'm so cautious, right? But people new to the market, and this slightly more stable, bigger asset, kind of $1 trillion market cap kind of assets like Bitcoin, it's a slightly different game now. But nonetheless, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with these assets, right? And some of them can get wiped off the face of the planet. And even though Zcash has been is one of the forefronts, right? This is probably devastating news at the moment, and it's going to maybe set ZEC back considerably over the next few weeks and months, just like when FET and RNDR, they started to rebrand and change. It does impact things, right? But I'll find out some more information about ZEC, and we'll get into that next session. But thank you. Sol, let's have a quick look at Sol just before I go. Sol is also looking good. Sol. I haven't checked in with Sol today. Too much to check in with. Let's see if I can load my Sol chart just to end. Try that one. Where are we, Sol? Let's have a look. Let's get rid of all this nonsense. Sol. Yeah, let's play there. I think I did look at this earlier. I admit I wasn't. Yeah, there is a point of confluence here, right? But these dips, right, and these they concern me a little bit, right? Now this is historical, so this is just last month, so it's not modern. It's not like January price action, but that's what concerns me. But when did this occur? Happened under the 200 MA. Caution here with Sol. Maybe it's clearly bouncing from this point, but it's not as in a good a position potentially as some of the other trading setups, and I think that's the most important thing to recognize, right? There is a play there for sure, right? There's a play there, so yeah, good shout. 133, that is support for sure, and you can maybe wait for a breakout and come in on the flip side, right? It needs a bit of work. I'll do some more work on that chart, but it's certainly not in as good a position as some of the other assets we looked at today, and that's the whole game, isn't it? Right? It's about the one advantage of trading crypto is there's so many options to choose from, and you need to cherry pick the setups which are the most probable at any given time. And Sol is a play there, but am I going to take Sol over BNB? Nah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that, right? So yeah, good shout. But I'll get into the Zcash stuff. Thanks for your support today. Thanks for everyone to be here and all the everyone checking this out on separate platforms. James has got a great video out today, just as a reminder for traditional commodities and stocks. Altcoin Gems will be out tomorrow. And if you haven't checked out Bitcoin Update from early in the week, I encourage you to do so. And I challenge you to go to Bitcoin Update from early in the week and see if you can count how many times I say the word potentially. Okay, so I sometimes when I'm a bit busy, I repeat the same word over and over again. So leave a comment, and if you get the right amount, then maybe we'll give you a shout out. Maybe even gift you a membership if you're over not in there. So head over to that video and let us know if you can count how many. Now I know how many there is because I've got the transcript, but let me know in that video how many times I say potentially, if you are bored, of course. But anyway, safe trading, folks. Great to be here. Again, James has got a video. Please check that out. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And James, don't forget, of course, James will be here on essentially or potentially. I can't remember. I get confused. But it's one of the two. James will be back on Sunday for his amazing Sunday live stream over the weekend. So we've got your content sorted for the next few days. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Safe trading, good setups at the moment. And if you're not in the private group, please consider joining. And don't forget, of course, about that new fan members tier at a lower price if you're on that one. But anyway, take care for now, folks. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. Love to all. Take care for now.